I saw that Possessed by Horror just released a video about her horror movie icks, and I thought it'll be fun to do one based on costume design. Hi, hello, I'm Kathy, and I love film and costume design. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about things in costume design that I hate, that give me the ick, that just make me feel certain things. Don't take this list too seriously. I'm not knocking on the designer or wardrobe department. They're undervalued as hell. And in fact, the best costume Oscar category didn't exist until 1949, which was approximately 20 years after the first Academy Awards in 1929. Designing, crafting, and styling costumes is hard work, and often you have to juggle the opinions of the director, the opinions of the actors, and the budget. So yeah, it's not easy. These are just my silly opinions. Now on with the list. We're starting off easy with a silly one, and that is men wearing athletic headbands. I've never found men in terry cloth headbands attractive at all in real life or on screen. I don't really have a particular reason why this gives me the ick. It's an illogical one. It's just not my taste. I really hate how their hair gets squished by the tight headband. It's horrible, and it makes me think of sweaty foreheads. Thank God Jonathan Anderson didn't include headbands in challengers, because also, if you haven't seen my video essay on costume design of challengers, go watch it after this one. My next ick is when we use traditional cultural costumes as set dressing. A story will take place in an exotic location just for an excuse to include some costumes that end up being an ambiguous combination of cultures. Or they'll throw in a random non-white character to add a little bit of spice. Usually a villain. Modern movies have no excuse. The most important thing here is context. Does this outfit make sense in the scene, or is it just a way to shoehorn an exotic look into the movie? The Yule Ball scene from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is a great example of this. More specifically, Cho Chang's Chi-Pao-inspired dress and Padma and Pavarti Patil's lehengas. At the very least, I'm thankful that Cho Chang's dress isn't bright red and there's chopsticks in her hair. The dress has your typical Mandarin collar and embroidery. The long draping sleeves and bodice keyhole are more modern touches. I'm not an expert on Indian clothes, but I've seen a bunch in person and even worn some for a wedding. And what I do know is that Indian clothing is elaborate and beautiful. This pink and orange color combination clashes so much. I don't know why they couldn't be in other colors. The costume designer already diverted away from the book description and put Hermione in a pink dress in order for her to stand out in the crowd, which I understand, so it just feels like an insult to have the Patil twins in this garish pink and orange color combination. The general color palette of the Yule Ball is like wintry, cool colors. There's so many other color combinations you could have had their outfits in. The pink and orange is just not it. There's a popular argument that since the Yule Ball takes place in the 90s, the fashion would look ugly to our eyes because it's following the trends of the time. And if we follow this logic, I would say that these outfits would be highly unlikely anyway. If I was one of the few people of color at my magical European school, I wouldn't wear a traditional outfit to Wizard Prom, especially if my date was one of the Tri-Wizard champions. I would probably beg my parents to buy me a pretty dress. Fourth year Hogwarts students are around 14, 15 years old, so this is the time where you're just trying to survive in school without being bullied. Most of the background actors are wearing simple dresses in blues and blacks, and I also see a lot of spaghetti straps and sparkles. It's just giving tokenism vibes to me, especially when reading this Tatler Asia article where the costume designer talks about the Yule Ball costumes. She mentions that she wanted to represent the different countries that the students are from. But here's the thing, Cho Chang and the Patil twins were likely born in the UK. Yes, their families might have come from other countries. This thinking reinforces a common issue second-generation immigrants have to deal with, that feeling of being othered, even in the country you were born in. Even with her Scottish accent, I'm sure Cho had to answer the "where are you really from?" question more than once in her lifetime. So I'll excuse Cho's dress a tiny bit, like this much. Because according to the designer, Katie Leong's mother cried when she saw her daughter in the costume because it reminded her of her wedding dress. There's even fan theories that the white foreshadows Cedric's death since the color is used for funerals in Chinese culture. This is confirmed in the article, so I admit that it's a good touch. And I do like the butterfly clip in her hair because it just feels authentic to me, just very 90s, but I don't have any excuses for Padma and Pavarti's dresses. I also feel like their jewelry could have been more elaborate, but what do I know? Side note, it's not like this costume designer is a terrible designer. I mean, look at Draco Malfoy's Yule Ball outfit. It's a damn shame that it didn't get screen time because, oh my god, he looks so good. My next ick is actually the lack of something, and that's the lack of hats/headdresses, especially in period pieces. It's a damn shame that modern society has banished fancy hats. and it looks like we followed suit in our media. Sure, you can make the argument that having hats makes lighting a scene difficult, since it casts uneven shadows on an actor's face. Greta Gerwig has gone on record saying she hates bonnets. In a Harper's Bazaar interview, Marianne Agertoft, who worked on Poldark and Persuasion, mentions that hats and bonnets can restrict an actor's movements. And my counter-argument is that restricted movement can actually add realism to a scene. Think about an actor wearing a heavy hat. It affects their posture and adds to their overall screen presence. A character wearing a heavy embellished hat is definitely not a peasant or someone who needs to do a lot of manual labor. Bonnets were accessible to women of all classes and used for practical reasons, to protect their hairstyle and to provide shade from the sun. One of my favorite shots in Titanic is when we first see Rose introduced on screen. You get a little extra drama from one hat, and it leaves a strong impression even if the scene is super short. It also establishes the time period and her wealth status at a glance. I'm not saying that hats are a must-have in every single scene and in every single movie. I would just like some more hat representation. To anyone who's spent any time on historical fashion YouTube, this won't be new for you. And that is corset slander. Media just loves to demonize corsets and act like they're the worst things in the world. For me, I just hate when they're used as symbolic patriarchal torture devices for women. The stereotype is so pervasive. Tight lacing is often shown to establish that the character cares about their appearance or that they're not like other girls because they hate it. At this point, I'm tired of the trope. It's so uninspired and overdone. These negative stereotypes are still being utilized today, and it doesn't feel like it's going to stop. Historical clothing needs proper undergarments to achieve the silhouette. It's the same thing as the pointy bras from the 50s. If you wear a modern bra with the vintage outfit, it's not going to look the same. And this brings me to the yellow dress from the live-action Beauty and the Beast movie. I'm specifically focusing on this example because ditching corsets was a part of the conversation during the press tour. There was a lot of talk about reinventing who Belle was and all that. The yellow dress features a corsetless bodice. Some people have noticed that it looks like a modern prom dress, and that's because there's no structure. The costume designer Jacqueline Duran mentions that they skipped the corset because Belle is an active princess. She mentioned that Watson had to wear a partial cage under the skirt, not a full one, but most of the dress volume comes from the organza. So that is just reinforcing that they just went for comfort. The final result is a yellow dress that is very boring and doesn't have that wow factor. Though let's be honest, a corset wouldn't save this dress. It has a whole bunch of other issues like the general design and the fabric choice. Because the source material is so beloved, making a live action version of an animated cartoon dress is super hard. I understand that. In the cartoon, Belle was an active princess already. She rode her horse, she was running around in the fields. Like, this dress is featured in one of the pivotal scenes where we expect a lot of motion and beauty and wonder and magic wrapped up in this scene, but we just don't get it because this dress is like not it. Emma Watson, I love you, but if you don't like corsets, then don't do period or fantasy movies. The next ick I'm going to talk about is historically inaccurate costumes that stick out in a bad way. Good costuming shouldn't take you out of the story, but that's what happened when I saw Nellie's red dress in Babylon. The movie takes place in 1926. Who knew? While I love historical accuracy in period pieces, it's not a make or break for me. I'll forgive inaccuracies if it adds to the story or aesthetic, but it has to look deliberate. I expect many costume designers to have a base level knowledge of historical fashion, or if not, at least research it. Costume designers also have the difficult job of balancing what a director wants, what an actor will wear, servicing the story, budget, and modern sensibilities. Back to the Babylon dress. Nellie Leroy is wearing this when she attends a party at the mansion early on in the movie. She's young, full of ambition, and wants to become a star. Costume designer Mary Zofres says that the costume choice was intentional because she didn't want it to look like a typical 1920s movie. I get where her head's at, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. And unfortunately, this idea went too far because I kept getting pulled out of the movie, especially with Nellie's looks. The last ick on my list is re-wearing clothes. And hear me out, because this section is only on here because of one specific movie. It's another Disney live-action movie, because of course it is. I actually don't mind when movies have characters rewear their outfits because it's a good storytelling device. Being an outfit repeater can reveal a bunch of things. Are they longing for the past? Are they trying to save money? Are they the type of character who has a signature piece? However, there's one movie that misses the mark, and it is the live-action Little Mermaid. Let's pull up the source material. Ariel emerges from the water wearing a sparkly dress to reunite with Prince Eric as a human again. This is a turning point in the movie. She's leaving her old life behind, and all we get is that same haggard dress that she's been wearing for days. Come on. Daddy King Triton gave her legs and said, "That's it." I wasn't expecting an exact replica of the animated dress. I would have obviously preferred something that was more in line with the rest of the outfits she had, which I had no problem with. But to give us nothing? So disappointing. She's a freaking princess. Give us some magic, goddammit. This movie also had a sprinkle of corset slander and left me feeling underwhelmed at an emotional moment, which seems to be a trend with the recent live action remakes. My feelings about this are exactly the same as the Beauty and the Beast live action. It's honestly stupid and a wasted opportunity. You have this moment that's supposed to be like, take your breath away. And in the cartoons, everyone remembers the dress. Like, everyone remembers Belle's beautiful yellow ball gown. And I know that translating animated stuff into real life is super, super difficult, but they did it for Cinderella. These are moments that stick in our head. They have that magic, that wonder that you expect from a Disney movie. And to have the live action movies fail to deliver us like even that, it's just dumb. It's upsetting. Ick with a capital I. All right, that concludes my costume design icks. This was fun to film, and I'm so glad that I found people on the internet who share my same passions. It's super exciting, and thank you to everyone who subscribed. I'm working on multiple scripts for future video essays. I have a lot of ideas in the pipeline, but if you have any ideas, I'm open to suggestions. Comment below, all that stuff. Subscribe if you want, but only if you want.